Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Wait, Are These Guys Friends? I am Mike, here with my co-host, Randy. I don't know why I rolled the R. Wait, hang on, I lost it. Oh, I had it. Hi, Randy.
I was trying to think of a salutation that had an R in it, but I couldn't come up with the top of my head. So.
Randy. There we go, I got it.
Yeah, there you go.
This is our new ASMR podcast. Although I feel like people who listen to this might be like, please stop doing that, actually. Yeah. I do not find that relaxing at all in any way.
Anti-ASMR, it's the new thing.
Which we took last week off, but in our last episode 2 weeks ago, I think I remember making a joke where you were like, once again, you start the show trying to drive everyone away. And here we go with me once again starting the show trying to drive everyone away.
It's a recurring thing, right?
Ooh, yes. Listen, if anyone turned it off, I hope they come back like a week later. Like a week, like you started the episode and you're like, these fucking guys. And then you're like, you know what? I like the rest of the show. We can get past that. And you turn it on and you just hear that. And then you're like, God damn it. Click.
Comes with the territory, everybody. Sorry.
You were on vacation last week, which is what I was going to say is why. It sounds like I'm accusing you as to why we didn't have an episode.
How dare you?
You son of a bitch. But I was simply going to say, I hope you had a nice time. I hope you had a good week. And I hope you're ready to dive into some random bullshit.
Indeed. Off the top, I know we kind of get into what we have been watching. The nature of my vacation was just going and visiting family. And so we would do a lot of stuff during the day that was sightseeing or the things around where those people were. But at night, you're kind of hanging out and you're watching other stuff. So I have a few things to add and contribute this week.
Fantastic. I weirdly do as well. I feel like we had made a run where we both were busy. It was just kind of that time of year for us, how that can happen. And I've got several things as well. What a brave, exciting new world we've entered into. But Randy, start us off. What do you got? What do you want to talk about first?
Well, we both had talked kind of offline about how when we'll get into that X-Men episode, I think maybe last, because I think that is the thing that might be the most interesting thing to dive into back and forth. But the spoiler alert for whatever 5 minutes later. But the thing that I ended up watching, which I had not seen Oppenheimer yet, and so we sat down and watched that, and wow, it's just incredibly well deserved in all its accolades and it's award winning. I mean, just incredible performance by is it Cillian? How do you say his name?
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy. Yeah,
I thought it was
unbelievable.
Cillian. I don't believe it's Cillian Murphy, and I don't mean that sarcastically. There was a moment where I think I might have thought that, but I believe it's Cillian Murphy.
That fan or two that we have in Killarney can hit us up and let us know. And
did you see the thing I put on Instagram about our fan in Brussels, Belgium?
No.
If you are our fan in Belgium, because we have a thing where I track our show on this website. And it's not our streams, right? It's not how many times you've streamed an episode. It's how many times an episode has been direct downloaded, right? So there's one person clearly in Belgium who has downloaded every episode.
Wow.
And it's just, unless somebody's using a VPN.
It's a bot or something. They're just...
But that said, there's 13 downloads in Belgium. So there you go. Yeah.
We'll have to learn French?
Belgish. Belgish
is definitely not a language, but we'll learn it, Maybe it's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh.
He's from Brussels.
Are things that bad for him? That's too bad.
No, please. Everything is fine, Jean-Claude. You don't have to pump us up, so...
Do you want us to do our big in-depth review of Time Cop? Because I could talk about Time Cop. I love Time Cop. It's your best film, Jean-Claude. Easy. It's your best film. Don't come at me with that kickboxer shit.
That's a different deep dive, I think so. But it.
Well, I mean, now I feel like we have a topic for next week now.
That just came across organically. So, but circling back, as we love to divert. All the time.
Great fun fact, Randy. I forgot what we were talking about. I don't remember what show you were talking about.
Because Cillian Murphy is from Ireland, and then you got into Belgium. So, but all the performances really, really done really well. sort of surprising when Josh Hartnett showed up. I forgot he was in it, and just I thought he was really good in it. Just everybody played really, really well. Matt Damon's character is awesome. There's a lot of interesting things that you think for a 3-hour movie, you'd be like, oh boy, I'm in for a long run, but it keeps you at attention the entire time. And Robert Downey Jr. makes a good villainish kind of guy too.
He deserved that Oscar based on everything. It was absolutely fantastic. Also, I believe, are you a Venture Brothers fan at all?
No, I know of it. I've seen it a couple times. I haven't watched it that much.
Dr. Venture himself, James Urbaniak, co-creator and all that. He's the guy standing next to Einstein when Oppenheimer goes and chats with him in like the woods in his meeting. So it's just like, oh man, they got all the heavy hitters in this.
Well, and then randomly Rami Malek I'm just going to be in this for, one minor scene, and then I'm going to be the giant whistleblower on the whole thing. But
it was. Listen, it deserves every accolade it got. It sounds like hyperbole, or that's an inside joke to me. I don't know why I said that. I said that because, quick diversion again, I still say it because I genuinely thought that's how it was said until about 4 years ago. No, until about a year ago. I said 4. We have a friend, Kendra. You know Kendra.
I do.
TD Kendra, who I don't know if she listens to the show. I said that legitimately, and she went, "Do you mean hyperbole?" And I went,
I guess
think
so.
I do. I think I do. I made it well into my 30s saying hyperbole. That's true. And now I
no one ever corrected you. That's the weirdest part.
Right? Until her. To the point where we had an awkward moment. It was like, what do you mean? But
who hilariously is one of the nicest people that exists, and like,
well, she didn't correct me meanly.
Right. Yeah, no, but it's just funny in that context.
Yeah. Well, you know what? She's a proper human being who if something is wrong, she's gonna be like, "What do you mean? That's incorrect."
Exactly.
So I realized though that partly out of defiance, partly out of habit, I still say it that way. and as soon as I said it, I was like, I should explain that I understand it's hyperbole. So,
it may be another running theme of this podcast is the mispronunciation of just about every word in the English language.
I think since minute 1 of episode 1, it was us just like, well, thank God we have an audio medium here. But it's not hyperbole. It deserves everything it got. It's absolutely fantastic. The only thing that made me laugh is I think I watched it, like, you see interviews with Nolan, and he's such a cinema purist, and he's not hoity-toity. Like, I don't know if you've seen that interview with him just talking about how much he loves Fast and the Furious and stuff like that.
No,
it's hilarious because it shows you that when he's being a cinema purist, he's not talking about the medium. He's talking about literally the theaters and the concept of going to the cinema. He is a purist. Like, everyone, I think, conflates that, confuses the two. And that, no, he wants you to go, you can go watch your trash movie. He just wants you to watch your trash movie at the theater and get the full experience.
Okay.
So I did not do that. I 100% ate a gummy, zoned out on the couch, and watched Oppenheimer. And can I tell you, one of the best movie-going experiences I've had in recent memory, because it is a 3-hour movie, 3-hour plus. And I needed to just be able to, we joke pre-air about like ADHD and stuff like that, and I'm a big-time sufferer. I was like, I need to dial in on this movie. I need to be able to take this movie in. So I just got very high, sat on the couch, and let it wash over me. And can I tell you, loved every second of it.
It's a good way to experience it, for sure, because it is that it does almost need to be experienced, that movie, just because you're taking in so much of the historical aspect, but then jumping around back and forth to different timelines. And
yeah, 100%. No, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Have you seen Barbie? If we're going to talk about this, the Barbenheimer, double feature was that big hot thing over the summer.
I did. I saw that a couple months ago.
Okay, yeah. It was good. I liked it. And I liked the hype for both. What I loved about the hype for both is that both genuinely deserved it. Both were absolutely fantastic. And neither one, I feel like it may have started ironically, but when everyone realized both movies were fantastic, it kept growing organically.
It did, and it had a throwback element to it of when it wasn't just like, oh, this is one movie that is the phenomenon of the next 4 months, and that it's all we have.
Right.
Where it was like, oh, okay, more than one big time blockbuster movie can come out around the same time. Like and that used to be very much commonplace, and now it doesn't. It seems like one thing is an event, and then that's about it for a month.
I sound like such a prude when I say this, and it's funny I feel like for me saying this because, you know me, I love superheroes and sci-fi and these big things, but I am, like so many others, aching for a return to smaller budget cinema. I am aching for, can we just get maybe 2 or 3 movies that are not blowing you don't need to make a $250 million movie every month and put that out. You can make a small budget movie if it's good and put it out. And if it's good, people will get to it. They will find it.
Conversely, I would say, so there was another movie we watched, and we were just kind of cycling through, I think it was Max, just to see what was on. And I was looking for something that was sort of short, something that my son would be interested in as much as my mom. So it was like, just let's try and find something that's sort of random.
Mm-hmm.
And so we stumbled upon Frequently Asked Questions About Time Travel.
Oh, why?
Which is a 2009 movie.
I've seen that.
With Chris O'Dowd. Hey, back to our, Irish, but
I have definitely seen it. Anna Faris is in that, right? I'm looking it up right now.
She is as well.
Yeah, I remember.
Did we never determine that? Is it Anna or Anna?
Never determined, and we're gonna just move on.
Because we talked about her, I think, and she was in some other movie that we were talking about.
I don't remember much about this movie, but I know I saw it like a decade ago.
So it very much is kind of a tongue-in-cheek. It has it was a BBC Films partnership thing with HBO, I guess at the time, now Max. And I don't want to say low budget, but just a lot of it takes place in 2 different scenes, 2 different sets, inside this pub, essentially. It almost is like it's trying to be Shaun of the Dead, that sort of tongue-in-cheek type thing. Not as gory as that, but the idea being that these 3 guys that are just, kind of losers that are in their mid-20s that work at like an amusement park go to a pub. One of them goes into the men's bathroom and comes out and has jumped in time to this like horrific event and is like, what the, and he goes back in and comes back out and he's just at the normal time frame. Anna Faris plays a time traveler that is meant to kind of a low rent TVA agent. I mean, if we were going Marvel connection stuff, there were entertaining parts to it. It was funny. It was an hour and 20 some minutes, so it was pretty harmless. I thought there was more they could have done with it, but it might have been given the budget. They were like, hey, we got this story, and they're like, here's whatever, $500,000 or $1 million, and go make your movie. We watched that
with a cast of like 5 people and 2 sets. It's you get what you can out of it, and that's cool. Dialing over to you mentioned HBO Max, and the first thing I thought of, did you watch the Conan O'Brien's Hot Ones? I've watched it twice this week. It's fucking perfect.
Oh, I haven't. No, I'll have to check it out.
It's his new show's debuting on Max next week, and there's a lot of good jokes at the expense of the name change that I will not do justice to here. So definitely worth. It is, what I loved about that was it's Conan showing how Conan's still Conan. And it's so great because kids today, and he even jokes about, I'm doing this because I'm expanding my audience. But you think about a Letterman or a Leno and the lack of energy they had at the age he's at now. And Conan is still fucking Conan, He's manic, he's out there, he's quick, he's hilarious. Everything about him is still him. And he can't be replicated, and he's a fucking national treasure. So, Enrique. But also talking HBO Max, are you a Righteous Gemstones person? Because I finally watched the 3rd season. Absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait for season 4. Everyone on that show is fantastic, but every season I think I come out of it thinking, I love John Goodman. He is so versatile, and anything he's in, you think about the fact, like, I'm not a Roseanne person. I wasn't even in the 90s. I know he's doing the Connors now. But you look at the difference in what he's doing he's doing at the same time like a classic network sitcom and high like brow HBO comedy at the same time, and just switching, flipping switches, and just so impressive what he can do.
He manages to be funny without, because there is definitely a place for not every other character, but 80% of the other characters, which are just playing bonkers balls to the wall, like, because that's what necessitates from the character the way they are. It's not that you need the straight man, but it's just interesting how he can still have his amusing, funny moments while still being the stoic, I don't know, the paternal elements of that whole family.
Guiding father figure, despite being not the best father figure, but it makes it realistic. And not the kind of not good father figure where he's like in a deadbeat dad, but the kind of father figure where he's just not good at it, but he tries, despite, which I always find, I don't feel like, as silly as it sounds, I feel like that concept in a lot of media isn't as prevalent as it should be. I feel like you're either a really involved great father, or if you're a bad father, you're the worst, not their father. There's rarely, it's nice to see a portrayal of an in-between where he's like, I'm doing what I can. Even in our bizarre circumstances, it's what I can. And it's like, that's good.
The one thing too, you brought up in the past when we talked about theme songs and stuff like that, how great My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is with all its musical woven into it. And I think that's one of the hidden kind of things about this show, is that like the songs are great. I mean, it just like really, even though some of them are super tongue-in-cheek, like some Baby Billy song, they're just toe-tapping, catchy as hell.
I recommended it to a friend, partly the friend who recommended Crazy Ex-Girlfriend to me. I recently, after finishing the season, recommended it back to her, and I was like, I know this may not be in your wheelhouse normally, but it's just so funny with a touch of drama, everything that you liked aside from the mental health stuff, but like the concepts of what you liked about Crazy Ex-Girlfriend in a different way carry over to this show, and you should watch it for similar things. Also, you dropped Baby Billy. I don't want to dive into the show, the premise, all this. I'm telling you, just watch Righteous Gemstones. But what I'll tell you is, Walter Goggins deserves all the Emmys right now for his performance as...
I'll cut you off. Walter or Walton?
I thought it was Walt. I thought I said Walton, but I'm saying Walter, aren't I? Just like I say hyperbole. So I actually thought I was saying Walton, but my brain made me say Walter. It is Walton Goggins. Yeah. My apologies.
Okay.
My apologies. If he's listening, if he's our fan who listens in Belgium, he's going to be so offended. He's going to, no, you're 100% right. And my brain was just moving on. So,
the lore of this Belgian fan is going to grow week by week. It's something great. We're just going to add to his or her backstory.
It's going to be so depressing when it just turns out it's like a guy we know was a VPN. It's going to be so depressing. Exactly. But also, what are you trying to hide? Why you got that VPN on? What are you doing?
That Belgian VPN? What's going on there?
What's so shady about your life? Drew, who doesn't. I'm just going to keep naming people we know. See if they will done. People I know who don't really listen to the show just to fuck with them. Oh, this is a real inside joke show today. It's not good. Really, really welcoming in the new viewers. New viewers? Good God. So
I've done that before, so that's a more forgivable one.
Walton Goggins plays they do flashbacks in the show to like the 80s and early 90s, and he also plays now, but he plays the character both as a young man and as an old man, and he is just, to describe him would not do him justice. He is a tour de force of just comedic goodness. And after watching season 3, I went back and rewatched a lot of season 1 and 2, and with no context, without diving in, just his delivery of like, my God, it's a toilet baby. It kills me every time. And it's just the sheer joy. Oh, you know what? This is how I feel like some people I know, if you haven't watched Righteous Gemstones, but you're big on social media, and you see that trend of the old man with the white hair going, I have to, when it comes around, I got to pay my scientists, my researchers. I get nothing. It's a wash. That's Baby Billy. If that's your only indication, that's Baby Billy. Watch this show.
It's just the basis of the character that just is so confident that the world is there to serve him and is so annoyed that it is not serving him.
Yes.
It's so hilarious.
Also, randomly, in season 3, he's only in 2 episodes, and they stick him in the deepest layers of old age makeup. Shea Wiggum, who is just one of my favorite random B actors who shows up in shit. Do you know Shea Wiggum? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I know the name. Yeah, maybe I need more context. But
he's the old man race car driver, Danny Daniels or David Daniels. And he's
okay.
like, Shea Wiggum would be an interesting IMDb breakdown. I don't want to do the whole thing right now, but I am going to bring up a few of them just for funsies, just to read off some stuff he's been in since the 90s. You ready? You ready for all this goodness?
Let's go.
He showed up on ER a couple of times. He's been in the Fast and Furious movies. He was in The Lincoln Lawyer. He was in Silver Linings Playbook. He was in The Wolf of Wall Street. He was in... Oh, that was the bad season of True Detective. Never mind. He was in Star Trek Beyond, which I really like. He was in Vice Principals. He's Ray in Vice Principals. Do you remember him?
That's one, and surprisingly, I am a giant Danny McBride fan, but that's one I missed and I still need to catch up on.
So when you had asked about if we wanted to do a Danny McBride deep dive offline, I paused and hesitated because funny thing is, I didn't get into a lot of his stuff until Vice Principals. I was never an Eastbound and Down person. That being said, I've liked every clip I've seen. I just never watched it. And I didn't watch, like, a lot of his movies weren't it. I wasn't into it. So that show was like, oh, I think I like this. And I feel like that humor carried into this a little more like he has evolved and aged and gotten, it can still be crass, but I feel like his humor is, I don't know, really improved. But anyway, Shea Wiggum's also in Vice and Joker and Kong Skull Island, but they're all bit parts or side parts. He is a classic B actor in my mind, but he is just really good. And they just stuck him in the deepest old age makeup for this show. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, did you look up his face?
He's in Boardwalk Empire. That's another big one.
I never watched that one, but yeah.
Yeah. He played Steve Buscemi's brother. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Anyway, that guy is the old man race car driver randomly. And I was waiting for the flashback, in the flashback scene, where they always do like a flashback scene in the season where everyone's younger and they take them out of old age or they de-age them or whatever. They barely did that to him. He didn't look like they'd taken the makeup off him in the episode where they de-aged everybody. And I was like, wait, I thought we were just going to get one episode of him looking like Shea Wiggum. And it's like, no, they still just threw shit on him. And I was like, I'm so confused by this now. Why did you cast...
It's hard life doing that race car driving there.
Why did they cast him, though, if they're just be like, we're going to put so much makeup? Like, you could have just hired an old man.
We forgot about that.
Yeah.
You only had him for one day, so they had to shoot that whole thing. Yeah.
Fair. And they forgot about that scene, and they're like, oh, we don't have time to get the makeup. But just go. Yeah. Anyway.
It'll make sense.
What else have you watched before we dive into X-Men?
Though one other thing, actually, last night, I'm blanking on the Bob Marley movie.
I know. Yeah,
what's it called?
The Bob Marley movie that performed well.
One Love. That's what it's called. Yeah, and was very good. I really enjoyed it. Two things we had to do. One, we definitely had to turn on the subtitles because the Jamaican accent is thick and accurate, and it flowed a lot like Bohemian Rhapsody. Where
I hated that movie. I fucking hate that movie.
So I mean more in structure than I do mean in execution of it. So where they would maneuver through parts and then the music would be part of kind of woven into the story. And I was kind of thinking, how Rocket Man was a little bit more biographical and the songs were part of the biography.
I loved Rocket Man, by the way. I fucking love that movie and I hate Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay. Fair enough. So, but this was basically centered around the songs that were the larger components of his life, but they don't take place separate from how he was doing it. It's showing him recording them in the studio. It's showing him at concerts or things like that.
I can't let this go, and I have to ask if they do this now, based on my criticism of Bohemian Rhapsody and your comparison. Mm-hmm. Part of the reason I hate Bohemian Rhapsody is it was produced with Queen making the movie, and they decided to turn Freddie Mercury into a saint. That's the reason I like Rocket Man so much is, Elton John produced it, but he was like, I was terrible in the 70s and 80s, and we are going to be honest about that. Freddie Mercury was, listen, amazing
Right.
artist, but debaucherous. And like
Mm-hmm.
every story was like degenerate. And like you don't get a sense of that in Bohemian Rhapsody. He's turned into a saint. And he's,
Yeah.
I'm like, this isn't genuine to me. I hate this vibe. I don't know enough about Bob Marley to make that call, but are they turning him into a saint? Do they deify him in this movie based on how they present it?
I would say somewhat, but there are components. I think the thing that helps here is that, his wife was one of the singers in the Wailers. And so she plays a prominent role in this as well. And Bob was not, what's the word? Not great with fidelity. He has other kids from other women and things like that. And they have a confrontational scene where they go at it back and forth about stuff like that, it just verbally. And so there are points where he gets taken down a peg or two, but he's still, for the most part, because of the overall arching symbol of what he was for Jamaica at that point and what that album, because it centers mostly around Exodus being released. And so it shows that, okay, they evolved a little bit and what this meant, but and it's more too about all the troubles that were going on in Jamaica at the time, all the unrest and the warring gangs and things like that. So it's a little more contextual in that regard, where Bob is part of it and trying to offer the music that is the alternative and the peaceful message to it. But at the same time, somebody came and shot one of his his manager and him in his home. So there are components to it that I think are less, because I can definitely see that about Bohemian Rhapsody, where it's just like there's almost seems to be a light shining around Freddie for that whole movie.
God, it's did you ever hear the interview or see the interview with Sacha Baron Cohen, who was originally cast to do Freddie and dropped out? Did you see why he dropped out?
Mm-mm.
He goes,
no, was it because of this, or I'm guessing
a similar
wasn't
vibe,
as honest as it should have been?
basically. But he goes, he was talking shit about the other members of Queen, and I loved it because he goes, by the way, the movie got better than what even I had signed on for, even though it had a lot of the same problems. He goes, here's what the original movie was. And I told them, no one wants to see this fucking movie. And it was Freddie Mercury was going to die halfway through, and the rest of the movie was going to be how Queen soldiered on without him. And he goes, that was the script they had presented. And he died like an hour in, and there's another hour of Queen existing without him. And I told him, no one wants to see that fucking movie. No one cares about you after Freddie Mercury dies. And I was like, this is fantastic. But that's the vibe those people wanted for that. They were saints. Perfect. We're amazing. And I could feel that lack of authenticity bleeding through. And as soon as you compared this to Bohemian Rhapsody, you almost soured me on it. And I was like, oh, bro, okay. So...
And perhaps, and like I said, it was more in the musical structure of it, I think, than the deification of Bob Marley. So, but the other thing that the only issue I really had with it, and this is just, it is what it is. There are flashbacks kind of back and forth throughout. It takes place in the mid 70s, but then flashes back to Bob and the Wailers getting their start, going to this small recording studio in Jamaica, and they find the song that's their big hit. And it talks about Bob meeting his wife and all these other things as in understanding and coming to Rastafarianism and finding that as his religious following. But the person that plays Bob as a younger individual is like 5'6", and then Bob in 1975 is like 6'2". That is one of these things that I'm like, all right, you were 18 in these flashbacks. I mean, did you grow a foot?
I've heard people shrink as they get older. It's okay. You're all right. Oh wait, are you saying it's the other way around? Oh, I heard it the other way around. I heard that they were 6'8" and went to 6'2". My bad.
No. 5'8" and going to 6'2". So it just the actors. No, it was the actors they picked. So it's fine. It is what it is. But
some people hit puberty later than others. It's it happens. So.
I guess so. And it was the only thing that stuck in my head every once in a while when they cut back and forth to be like, he is like 3 inches shorter than his wife in this scene, and now he towers over her. Like, what is going on? But
that's fun.
Other than that, I mean, really good performances. The guy that played Bob, the older life Bob, was excellent. Really, really, really good performance.
Cool.
Looked the part during the singing, all that stuff. I don't know if he was singing on his own. I didn't do that much research into it, but looks the part during the concert footage.
I'll give it a shot. Genuinely, I'll give it a shot. I don't mind. I love a good musical biography, but I love a good musical biography that's warts and all. I want more honest representations. There's a reason why Walk the Line. Listen, Walk the Line is a well-made movie, a great movie, but it also is honest that Johnny Cash made a lot of fucking mistakes, and they address a lot of those mistakes. So,
sure.
That's good stuff. Dewey Cox, Walk
Hard. Love Walk Hard.
Walk Hard. Dewey Cox made a lot of mistakes, Randy. It's a perfect musical biography. Dewey Cox made a lot of mistakes.
This is a dark fucking period.
God, I love that movie.
I can watch that movie a lot. I love that movie.
Me too. I want to see, because it's just playing in theaters, I'm worried it'll be a really brief run, and I want to try to go soon. Have you seen anything about Late Night with the Devil? I really want to go see that this week.
No, what's that?
Trying to. It's an independent film. It's a supernatural horror film, but do you know David I don't know how to say it, Dasmachlian? He played Polka Dot Man in The Suicide Squad. He's one of, yeah, okay, good. I was trying to think of other stuff.
He's in Oppenheimer.
Yes, he is. You're right.
Yeah.
He plays a talk show host that is competing against Johnny Carson, and it takes place in the 70s.
Oh.
And he, in a bid to get ratings, he's doing more outlandish stuff. And they do like an exorcism or they try to do like a thing on the show, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, and it's all presented as happening like live on the air on his show. And
interesting.
It's kind of like framed like a documentary. I think the previews look fantastic. And you ever just see something where you're like, I need to see that now because I won't have a chance to see it in the theater unless I do it right now. Like it's going to be a small independent run. It's not going to be there unless it takes off. It's like, I gotta go see it this week.
Cool premise.
Yeah. But now let's get to the meat of the matter. Like, I had texted you earlier this week, like, did you see X-Men episode 5? He's like, not yet. I'm at my parents'. And I think you texted me like the next day. He's like, I woke up before everybody. I'm devastated. So it's pretty much like, wow. It's like, all right.
What a way to start my morning. Yeah. Like, I'll tune on this X-Men show. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely stellar. We're going to get deep into spoiler territory here. I don't want to stay vague. I want to dive right into it. So this is your spoiler warning. If you're trying to catch up, watch X-Men. This is for episode 5 of X-Men 97. Remember it. 3, 2, 1. Here we go, everybody. Man, what they did with Gambit. I had felt like in the first few episodes, and even a lot of the other stuff, he is being underused. And the moment they give him, the way they kill him, showing how powerful he can be, showing how noble he can be. Man, what a moment. Just what a moment.
Yeah, and so very much a figurative and literal cut to black at the end too, where I thought they would pay it off a little bit more, and then but it's just Rogue, I can't feel you, and out.
Yeah,
like it was not. There was nothing. I'm like, oh shit, that's it. So it was crazy. Just all right, 20 seconds after it happened, it felt like the episode was over.
So the showrunner for X-Men 97, who was let go before the season started, and everyone has been increasingly confused as to why he was let go, because the show is only getting better and better and better, and everyone's like, we're waiting for the thing where, like, if the show had been bad and it debuted, they'd have been like, now you see why we let him go, don't you? Sorry, everybody, we'll try next season. No, he's already written season 2. He'd written season 2 before they let him go. But he went on to Twitter. I refuse to call it that new name. He went on to Twitter and he had not really talked about anything since he'd been let go. And he got on to talk about this episode because of the response to it. He was very honest, very open, very frank about everything. And he had said, the first 4 episodes I designed to be the retro throwback to the original show, right? You're going to live in your nostalgia. We're doing an event style episode. We're going to have fun. We're going to reintroduce the team. He goes, but episode 5 is where we grow up. And he specifically said, for all the kids who lived in the 90s, this is 9/11. And this is the terrible thing that happens that changes your perspective. And I just thought, man, that's a really intense way. Like, I respect the hell out of that. He goes, you're the 90s, and then suddenly the 90s were over and things were bad and things were going. And I was like, that's fascinating. That's a fascinating take. So, and he also mentioned he's an openly gay man, out and proud. He, has really obviously, and with the X-Men being the X-Men, I don't care what wokeness claims you want to scream at Disney. The X-Men have always been about, minorities and underprivileged individuals and less represented individuals getting their due. And he's very public about saying that he wrote a lot of this as someone who had lived in Orlando around the Pulse nightclub shooting. And a lot of his feelings and emotions about you're having a great time and suddenly the world is over comes from that. And he was putting that into this episode. And all I can think is, to dial back to a slightly more funny sentence here, why did they let this guy go? Because this, I need to know, because my God, what a powerful episode with real world, everything coming into it and just making high art out of the X-Men proper the way they should be.
It seems odd just because there's been everything that I've been into, even with the, the Mojo aside, you can tell that part of that episode was just within its own little thing, just to introduce that, but it felt like a bottle episode, for lack of a better term, that complete part of it. But then they've been furthering the storylines with everything else, and then they keep sprinkling continued things in. And I don't know what other sort of storytelling you're supposed to do. Like, it seems like that's the way to get people to keep watching, is to continue further storylines as opposed to wrapping it up in 22 minutes and being like, you could watch this on its own without any context, but that's not a good way to get people to keep watching.
No, agreed. And that said, I'll dive into we immediately obviously went into the heavy-handed stuff. And the other thing we didn't mention is Magneto is also probably dead now. My God, the line where he says, you get the little snippets of his flashback. You see just like a hint of concentration camp in frames of him thinking about his life. And the fact that his last line, he tells Leech in German to not be afraid. And there's stuff I read online trying to dissect about why would he do it that way. And that it's a lot of people in their last moments, or like if they're dual language speakers, obviously revert to their most comfortable first language, because why would you put that effort in at the end? And that's just like, God, that's really fucking good. Give me some more emotional resonance for what you're feeling from this before we move on and call it.
Just from my experience and memories from watching the cartoon, Rogue Gambit was like Scott and Jean to me, like it was just always that going to be together, and to know that that's a part. I mean, they already sort of fractured it by hinting at the Magneto part and then showing the Magneto part during their dance at the gala, the ball, or whatever that thing was called, to that in midair
with Ace of Base, because it's 1997. keep in mind,
and the midair kiss and all that other stuff. So to see, not only to have Gambit go away, but to know that relationship, that pairing, which is just kind of known and understood, is going to be gone and will probably be gone, because even if Gambit comes back, like you said, it won't be that Gambit that we know and love. So it's it's a double whammy in that regard, because it's just like, all right, it sucks we're losing Gambit, we're also losing this great pairing of him and banter of him and Rogue.
Cool Guy Randy knows a lot about music. We often talk about Cool Guy Randy's Cool Guy Music Corner and his albums and his love of music. And all joking aside, a lot about just random music facts, a lot about your interests, a lot of stuff like that. And it's always fun to talk to you about different topics and different artists and different things. But I was recently at the Museum of Musical Instruments in Arizona, which is a fascinating museum. Highly recommended. Just a lot of famous instruments. Oh, have you? Lovely. I didn't realize. Good stuff. So I'm not going to tell you about it. I'll tell the others about it. There's a lot of like famous instruments on display, a lot of memorabilia. And then one floor is like a history of music evolution and instruments from different countries. It's really fascinating. But in the gift shop, aside from instruments, other things, I found two games, 1980s music trivia and 1990s music trivia. And they're just little card games. And we're going to just draw some random cards, and we're going to do 5 questions from each decade. And we're going to see how Randy does. And just because I want to see, on a random whim, how he handles deep dive of music trivia. And I have not prepared these questions ahead of time. I'm going to show him the deck so that he can see it because we can see each other. And I'm just picking random cards. I have no, insight on this. And we're going to start with the 80s. We'll do 5 from the 80s and 5 from the 90s. Are you ready, Randy?
Terrified, but let's go.
Now, before I continue, there are multiple choices on here. And do you want the multiple choice or do you want to just try to answer it?
So let's go ahead and go with the option that if I can get it without the multiple choice, that's worth a point.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to go to, and then I can ask for the multiple choice, and it's worth a half point if I get it right from there.
And we'll see how many points you get. And yes, if that sounds familiar, I did steal that scoring structure from Red Letter Media. It just made a lot of sense. All right. Are you ready for your first 1980s question?
Let's go.
Neil Doughty and Alan Gratzer were founding members of which band? I actually knew this one. Which, by the way, I can't guess because the questions are not Trivial Pursuit style where you flip the card to find out. As soon as you draw a card, the answer is presented in your face. So I cannot play.
I'm going to go multiple choice. Oh, yeah.
Are they the founding members of Public Enemy, REO Speedwagon, Chicago, or Kraftwerk?
REO Speedwagon?
Yes, I can tell you were guessing, but good use. There you go.
I knew it wasn't Public Enemy, but...
All right, this one might be a little easier for you.
Okay, let's hope.
Which band's second album was called Hangin' Tough?
New Kids on the Block.
You're damn right. There you go. So proud of you. Here we go. Oh, and you know what? I'm going to keep both of these because there's bonus questions that are supposed to be played as like team shout outs, but I'm going to ask you the bonus question from each card when we're done, just for fun.
Good times.
They're all lyrics, by the way. It's lyrics related stuff. It's, do you know the next lyric and do you know the song?
Okay.
But anyway, may I ask you, Randall, for whom, that's how it's written, and I love this. For whom was it raining men in 1984? It's raining men. Hallelujah. It's raining men. Need the multiple choice?
Yeah, geez.
You're going to kick yourself because when you hear who it could be,
I'm originally saying the Pointer Sisters, but that's not right. So go ahead. Go multiple choice.
That is one of the options. That's not your guess, though.
But no. Okay. No, give me the multiple choice.
Bananarama, Salt and Pepper, or the Weather Girls?
The Weather Girls. Like, was the Pointer Sisters the other multiple choice?
Yeah, that's what I say. Yeah. So that's your answer, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Weather Girls saying it's raining men. It's very on the nose.
Yeah.
All right. We have 2 more from the 1980s.
I'm so glad we kept the multiple choice.
Yeah, right? You were almost so proud about it.
I'd be sinking it.
All right. Let's see. I'm looking for a random. Oh, here we go. No. Here we go. I actually picked one. I was like, that's too hard. Unless you want it. But I don't think you know it.
What?
Oh, here we go. This is a good one. Who wrote the Bangles' 1986 hit, Manic Monday?
Prince.
You're damn right. Good one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. One more random. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. Just see if you remember the other guys. Who's the other guy in Wham? That's not how they wrote it, but who's the other guy in Wham? That's not George Michael.
Tom Hanks. No. That's a veiled reference to a weird SNL bit. Give me a multiple choice again.
Dave Gahan, Paul Rutherford, Barry Gibb, or Andrew Ridgely?
Andrew Ridgely?
Yes, but I can tell you guessed on that one too. No, but you're right.
I was either going A or D there, but...
So out of 5 questions, you got 3.5 points out of 5 possible points. So let's see, real quick. I'm not going to give you, you know what? You have to get, I don't know. I was trying to think for these bonuses, but let's just see here.
Bonuses could be for fun. I don't need that for points, but whatever. Yeah.
These are lyrics, and I want the next lyric. Watching some good friends screaming. Come on. This is your layup.
Watch some good friends.
Let me
Scream
out.
it.
Under Pressure. Queen and David Bowie.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Once I ran to you, I ran. Here, do you want me to sing it?
I run from you. Now
No.
I run from you.
Yes. By who?
This tainted love you give me.
Yes. Well done.
Soft Cell, right?
Yes, you crushed it.
Yep.
The phone rings in the middle of the night. Captain Lou Albano is your clue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Yes, you know the next line?
My father says, what you going to do with your life?
There it is. Yes. That's why I went with Lou Albano.
Yeah, it's weird how just like when someone reads it normally, how you just...
I refuse to sing it. I will not be singing it for you.
No, that's fine. It's just, it's a good challenge because it's out of context completely.
If you got the money, honey. If you got the money, honey.
We can...
You give up?
Yeah, what is that one?
We got your disease. The jungle. Welcome to the jungle. No.
Yeah, knees. Yeah. Knees.
All right. Are you ready for your final?
All right.
Don't you know I'm still standing better than I ever did?
It's still standing, Elton John, but
yes.
Feeling like a soul survivor? Or no, something soul survivor, feeling like a little kid? Yeah.
Oh, so close. Looking like a true survivor. Feeling like a little kid. I would say that you got about half of those because you half guessed the one you got wrong. You got 3. I'm going to give you, for the 5 bonus questions, 1 extra point for your effort.
Look at me.
So out of a total, but I would have given you 2 if you gotten them all, is what I've now decided.
I see. All right.
If you can get half, you'll get 2. Or, I'm figuring out my system.
Nice.
So you're at 4.5 out of a possible 7 points right now.
All right.
Is what I've decided. We are making this up as we go along,
Indeed.
But that is what I've decided. Now, I feel like this may be more your bread and butter. Although you didn't do terribly there. We are going to move on to do the 90s.
Watch me do worse on this.
Same deal. Yeah, right? Just random 90s questions. Here we go. Oh, there's one card that didn't come out, and now I want that one. I want that to be that's the rules card. Never mind. Randy,
I don't know the next lyric from
rules. Yeah. From the 1990s now. Which streets did Bruce Springsteen sing about in 1994?
Philadelphia.
That is correct. I don't remember this video, so let's see how it goes.
Oh, boy.
Which Spice Girls video, because I remember some of their videos, they were pretty big videos at one point, I feel like. Which Spice Girls video saw the group appear as animated fairies?
I'll go multiple choice here, maybe because I can sort of eliminate from the ones that I know, but...
Say You'll Be There.
Okay, it's not that.
Mama, Wannabe, Viva Forever.
So I can take you through. I'm doing like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire now, where I just I tell you why I'm eliminating things, but I know that Say You'll Be There was almost kind of Mad Max-ish, like, and Wannabe is that
You're
one.
right, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
you're right.
Wannabe wasn't it? So it's either Mama or Viva Forever. I'm gonna go with Viva Forever.
You are correct, sir.
I don't know that video, but good process of elimination.
Neither do I, but good guess.
I've been pretty good at good guessing here so far.
You are. It really upsets me. Oh, this one's a fucking layup. If you don't get this one, I'm actually taking a point away.
You're setting me up here.
Believe me, you'll know this one. But if you don't get it, I'm taking a point away.
All right.
Dookie was the title of an album by what band?
Green Day.
There it is. Yep. Let's see here. Let's see. We have 2 more from the 90s. How old was Britney Spears when she released her first album?
16?
No, 17.
Oh. I should have got multiple choice.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't have got it right anyway. Was 16 one of the multiple choice?
Yeah.
Oh,
Would you have guessed 16
I would have got it
based
wrong,
on
yeah.
that? Random one here. Oh, I love this song. Who had a hit with Torn in 1995?
Natalie Imbruglia.
Yeah. All right. Great job. You got 4 out of 5 of the 90s questions.
Gotcha.
I knew you'd do better. Do you want your question's so bad? Do you want one more random 90s question?
Sure. Yeah. And then are there bonus on this one too, or?
Yes, there are.
I
We're
love the
gonna do
lyrics
that too.
bonus ones. Let's do those too. Yeah.
Here's your random bonus 90s question because you did so well. And it's a hip hop question, Randy. So excited for you.
Oh boy.
Who released their debut album The Coming in 1996? This is a bonus, so you don't lose anything.
No, I know. The Coming.
I'm not going to give you an extra point. I just want to see how you did.
Can you give me multiple choice on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
LL Cool J, Snoop Dogg, DMX, or Busta Rhymes?
Oh, Busta Rhymes. I should have known that.
Yep. There you go.
I have the one after that. I have When Disaster Strikes, which was from 98. But
all right. Are you ready for your 5 lyrics?
Let's do it.
With the weird point system I devised. You have to get, if you get all 5, you get 2 points.
Yep.
If you get 3, or if you get 3 or less, you get, no, if you get 3, you get 1 point. If you get less than 3, you get no points.
I get it. And like it. Nothing and like it.
Yes. 5 is 2, 3 to 4 is 1, less than 3 is nothing. That's
Fair.
the system.
I like it.
All right. It makes no difference if you're black or white. This could be a couple different songs, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to punt on it. I don't know this one.
Or if you're a boy or a girl, Vogue, My Madonna.
Oh.
I thought you might go Black and White by Michael Jackson.
Right. It seemed too on the nose to do that. So.
Well, Randy, I can tell you that I don't want a lot for Christmas.
This is all I'm asking for?
No, there is just one thing I need.
Oh, yeah. I know it's Mariah Carey, yeah, but it's a...
Well, let me tell you, Randall, that last week when we weren't recording, I sat there and I just thought, my loneliness is killing me. And I
must confess, I still believe. So that is 17-year-old Britney Spears doing Hit Me Baby One More Time. Actually, what is it? Baby in parentheses one more time? I've looked this up before. Like it's the actual... Yeah.
So I just want to let you know, to get your single point, you have to get these last 2.
All right, no problem.
And I must flash the answers to you. You're not getting the point. I have no idea what this is. I've never heard of this song. I have no idea what this song is. Lift your hands and voices. The lyric is lift your hands and voices. If you know what it is, I'm very proud of you.
Lift your hands and voices. With arms wide open.
That's 2000s, isn't it?
Yeah. I hate Creed.
Free your mind. Yeah.
Oh, In Vogue.
What if? Sorry.
So it's In Vogue, Free Your Mind?
No.
Oh.
No, Free Your Mind and Join Us is the next lyric. It's Rhythm is a Dancer by Snap.
Snap, yeah. The inconsequential last one, but yes, let's do it anyway.
No, there's one. Yeah, there's one more here. Uncry these tears. I actually knew this one.
Really?
I could hear the lyric in my head.
Cry these tears.
I'm going to sing this one to really hammer it home because that's how I knew it.
All right.
Are you giving up? Uncry these tears. I cried so many nights. Unbreak my heart.
It was okay. I actually was going to guess that it was on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, it wouldn't have mattered because I need to get the next lyric, but I was going to guess Unbreak My Heart by Tony Braxton.
So no bonus points there. But out of a total of 14 possible points, you got 8.5. So you did better than half. You're not doing too terrible. All things considered. That was fun. I liked that. Well, I think I'd like to do that again because there's a lot more cards in that deck.
We'll have to reverse it. I'll have to find some comic book ones or something like that.
No, so I did debate, actually. I was really curious. I'm going to pull a random 90s card, and I'm going to hold it up to the camera so I can't see the question.
Okay.
You know what? Let me turn I can't turn my video off. You can say, I'm going to hold my hand up to the camera. Can you read the question?
Technotronic were a band from which country?
Germany?
It's
Belgium.
It's Belgium.
Oh my God.
It's so good. Oh, I love that.
That's fucking awesome.
That's why I was dying laughing. Like when I saw the answer, I'm like, maybe Technotronic is listening to our podcast. Yes.
Oh my God, I hope so. All right, good. Well, we can try that sometime in the future. That's fantastic. So
bump up the jam, right? That's Technotronic.
By the way, I don't know when I bumped my microphone, but I hope it sounds okay because I'm talking like this, and I just realized I was like this instead of pointing at me. So I hope we're going to be okay.
But,
so okay.
Did you catch me? Technotronic was pump up the jam, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sorry. I was more concerned about editing this later and being like, did I just fuck myself? This is going to sound terrible.
Fair enough.
All right, good talk. So we haven't done this in a few weeks. We are going to do a Simpsons episode to round things off today.
Yeah.
We have not talked about a Simpsons episode in a while. And I thought, how can we get into this? We've talked about how when they're too good and they're perfect, all we do is quote. When they're middle of the road and we don't have a lot to say, what do we do? And I thought, well, if we want to talk about The Simpsons again, I think we need to dive into kind of like controversy, right? Like dive into one of those episodes that made people talk, that people were worried about, things like that. And I think that, to me, the top of the list, there's a few, but Principal and the Pauper, Season 9, Episode 2. I could get into a summary, but I feel like all I need to say for Simpsons fan is this is the one where it turns out there's two Principal Skinners. That's the one. The actual plot, they're having a 20th anniversary party for Principal Skinner being principal of the school. We love you, Principal Skinner. It turns out that he is fake. He is not the real Principal Skinner. He took the place of his sergeant in Vietnam, came back, took over his life. It's a weird fucking episode for that reason. That said, Randy, gut reaction of this episode, before we get into the hows, the whys, what they do, what do you think? What do you think of this episode? Watching it possibly years later, how often do you revisit this episode?
I hadn't in a while. And so then I watched it again yesterday. And I got to be honest, I don't get the hate. I thought it was pretty funny. I thought there was a lot more amusing things within it than I originally had remembered. And I don't know, it didn't bother me as much. Yeah, it was a cheap thing at the end where they're like, it's like this never happened and they wipe it away. But I don't know. To me, it sort of fits into that's the way Springfield would have treated it if it was real life. Like, I think it's a lot more in the actual mode of that. Even if I've seen so many posts and other things like that, reviews throughout the years of how could they completely break down this buildup of this character only to revert it. And it's like, well, is it that big a deal within the context of one episode? To some people it is, but to me, I didn't see I didn't always remember it that I always saw that it was going to be the one where the turning point, but to me, it wasn't as much. I know it might be an unpopular take, but
no, I am buying into a lot you say. I still think it's a turning point, but I was so curious about this because I felt much the same when I watched it. I watched it and thought, I still hate the ending, but that had a lot of funny moments that I feel like aren't talked about and are glossed over. Mm-hmm. And so I reached out to two other Simpsons superfans, our friends Max and Drew, separately to get their takes on this. And I asked Max first. I went, hey, any immediate thoughts on the Simpsons episode Principal and the Pauper, the one with two Skinners? We're covering it tomorrow. I want to get some reactions. And his exact thing was, is that the Jump the Shark episode? Is that the day the music died? No, I it is referenced in the later Behind the Laughter episode as an increasingly nonsensical plot, but I was watching it all again. And his honest reaction was, I remember it as not being a terrible episode, but it set a really bad precedent for what they were willing to do moving forward while soiling an iconic character. And I thought, I like that take. It set a bad precedent. But meanwhile, Drew said, here we go, I like that episode a lot simply because of the up yours children joke, which is an all-timer. Up yours children.
Well, I think, yeah.
I'm going to finish this thing.
Yeah.
I do think it runs counter to a lot of the Simpsons ethos. Milhouse's parents getting divorced was done specifically to show that there could be real change and consequences on the show. And while they undid that years later, they held on to it for a long time. And this episode, I think, refutes that. I also like the no sell by Homer in that episode. He just wants to look at Armin's copy of Swank and he can't be bothered by anything else. I went, yes, you're absolutely right. Again, the joke I referenced to him there is I did laugh considerably at the big reveal when they just cut to Homer and he goes, and he thinks, keep looking shocked and move slowly towards the cake. But that, to me, both of those reactions said a lot of what I felt, where it was a really funny episode with an ending that made the rest of the episode inconsequential. The ending took a show that for 9 seasons, while goofy and weird and outlandish, had been true to itself and its characters, and kind of made one of those characters just, it turns out you couldn't trust them. You know, even if the characters were reacting honestly to a situation, it broke the trust of the show. Thoughts?
I guess so. My counter will be, and spoiler alert, I have not seen, I unfortunately was just spoiled, so I'm going off of this with a not 100% knowledge of it. Mad Men, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yes. Oh, similar thing. I have not seen Mad Men, and
okay.
I'm aware of.
You know the spoiler at the end? Yeah, okay, right.
Yes, he turns out to not really be who. Blah, blah. Yeah.
So, does that turn people off Mad Men after they've watched it?
No,
I mean, I guess
don't
it
think
stopped then. So I don't know. I mean,
I'd like to also say though that we have not watched that show.
True.
And I don't know the emotional consequences, and I don't want to have that conversation, because how can we say, oh, well, they didn't do that? We have not watched that show, and I will not use that as a comparison point with neither of us knowing. That's some
fair.
bullshit. Yeah. That could be the most intricately plotted emotional beat ever, and you're like, oh, it seemed fine to me. You haven't watched it? I haven't watched it. That's a terrible example, and I refuse to endorse you in that.
Fair enough. Not fair enough. I still think it's valid, but whatever. So, but
that's the whole point of the show, is I'm going to disagree with you from time to time. We've been all sunshine and roses talking about the X-Men and other things today. No, I disagree with you on that pretty hardcore.
Yeah, I don't know. To say that it undid all this other stuff, did it? I guess that it's just that's the nature of any cartoon, or is the idea that this is different than every cartoon. I mean, if that's the idea, then I can understand that argument, but
I'm not saying it undid anything, and I'm not saying that they said it undid anything. I'm saying it broke a trust and set a bad precedent moving forward for what the show would do, leaning into lazy jokes, leaning into lazy twists, leaning into third act endings that weren't built up properly, that the ending has no emotional resonance. It's just, we've decided we're okay with this. You say that works for Springfield. I say that's a lazy writing trope that they would lean into more and more as the show got older, and that they had not leaned into at that point.
So remind me, is season 9 the same writers as season 8? Because I know this was written in season 8, but
season 9 had new showrunners, and it was
even though this episode was written in season 8, it was originally supposed to be in season 8, right?
Yes, I'm just confirming here if that was one of their holdover episodes. Was that in one of the trivias you read, that it was a holdover?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Which is interesting to me, because it's funny to me how that works out, because season 8 is my favorite season ever of The Simpsons. It's my all-time.
Well, that's what I mean. What if that aired during that season? Do we still say the same thing? I don't know.
I say yes. I say it taints an otherwise perfect season. If this and also you got to look at, you start season 9 with an all-timer, City of New York versus Homer Simpson, where you still get that mentality, that vibe, the click on all cylinders. And then honestly, the next 2 episodes are 2 of my least favorite. You go to this one, and then it says Lisa Sachs is next, but that's not how it is on. Interesting. That's not how it's displayed on Disney Plus. I was looking at how, when I go on Wikipedia, the next episode it has airing is, where's the one with Lisa the Simpson is the next episode it has airing on Disney Plus.
Right.
But on the breakdown of the season on Wikipedia, that has it like 10 episodes later. That's interesting to me. And it says it's episode 17 on Wikipedia. So that's very odd to me. But Lisa the Simpson has one of my favorite B plots ever in Jasper, and one of my least favorite A plots where it talks about the Simpson gene and why every Simpson man is stupid. I hate that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And on Disney Plus, those two episodes go back to back. And I just thought, oh God, the season tanked immediately. So, but then to be fair, to season 9's credit, it dials back with Lisa Sachs, the Cartridge family with the gun, Bart Starr, which is Homer coaching the team. So like season 9's real up and down, but to me, it is indicative of the first true dip in quality. And it starts hard with this episode. Randy, please counteract me. This is where I stand.
No, I'm with you. I can see that. I guess I didn't see it reverb throughout. Like, the rest of that season. The next time I see Skinner, I think to myself, that's not Skinner. I don't know if I did, but I get what you're saying. It opened the door for the storytelling of not being tight with the storytelling, not being.
That's the travesty to me.
I would just say I could see it from that point. It's just, I would say my viewing experience of The Simpsons is clearly different than yours, which is, it's not wrong. It's just my investment in it is to more be amused by it, I guess, which you clearly are, but there's a different investment in the world of Springfield that you have than I do, which is, I don't say it's any
you're
more
actually,
in depth or less
you're barking up the wrong tree. You're taking the wrong message from what I'm saying.
Okay.
To me, I realize a lot of fans are upset about the canon of it all, right?
Okay.
That's not Skinner, that actually is not what I'm upset about. Whatever. What I'm upset about is how lazy it is and how poorly it's done. And how that writing isn't reflected. It's the lazy ending is a harbinger of doom for the future. And the lack of acknowledging it is indicative of how lazy they would be moving forward. Is I don't care that they did it. Mm-hmm. To me, it's a quality dip in how they handled it. Does that make sense?
Is there and I'm not asking you to be a Simpsons writer.
Yeah,
but is there a different path they could have taken given you have the first act of that episode that they could have taken that would have been a little less lazy in your opinion?
The first act, weirdly to me, I can get behind the first act. I can get behind a lot of the second act. To me, it's about the return. The return is, we need to wrap this up. And I don't have an answer for that right now.
Yeah.
And that's why I say it's indicative of what later seasons would be, because we have talked about a lot of the weird twists, turns, and jokes that don't make sense and don't work within the show and the universe and the narrative and just feel tacked on in later years. And that's where I'm saying I have an issue with this episode, is because to me, this is the genesis of that.
Gotcha. I was trying to think about this, and there's another, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it could be later seasons. There's never a dynamic where Skinner really has the upper hand on Chalmers, right? Not that he's his superior or he has to do anything other than appease him. Obviously, we talked about the Sundance one where they're partners, but that was kind of a side plot.
Right.
But
that was the best one I could think of there.
So I was wondering, and this is just me fan casting or whatever allowed, fan writing, is what if that was the consequence of the real Skinner taking over, through some loophole or whatever, he becomes Chalmers' boss. And then Chalmers has to report to the real Skinner, hates him so much that's the genesis of them all trying to bring Armin back.
I like that more, because obviously it does come down to the fact that they don't like him, but there's no drive other than, well, we don't like this guy. I like that because that has more urgency. I like that. That has more of a driving plot thread of somebody getting actively involved in making this happen, other than, listen, we just don't like you, we're going to trade.
And then I think there's an easy throwaway joke at the end of it where it's just like Armin / old Skinner is going to be like, oh, so am I back in my role as your boss? And Chalmers is just like, no. I think there'd be a good throwaway joke there to kind of tie it up.
I like that. I genuinely like that more. To me, I can accept any bizarre happenstance, canon change, whatever, if you got me there logically.
Mm-hmm.
If you
It's an easier reset then, right?
Yes. You can turn the world on its head if you take me on the journey with you.
Right.
If you turn everything upside down and I don't know why you turned it upside down, I'm bothered by it. Take me on the journey. And that's what bothers me about it.
It's fair. They spent more time in the car on that extended joke of the family members.
Yes.
Why is she here? Why is he here? Why are the kids here? They spent more time on that than they did telling you why they're going to get rid of the real Seymour Skinner.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's...
Which I liked that joke, but at the same time, they should be spending a little more time on the plot.
I was actually going to say Jasper's little silent smile at the end when he's the last person mentioned makes me happy. I thought that's adorable. I enjoyed that bit. That was good. You're absolutely right.
It's a good ongoing bit, yeah. So, but the point being that, that joke is whatever 40 seconds, and that's about as much time as other than. Well, I thought it was still funny that they have him tied up on a flatbed moving out of town. Like, that's an amusing visual, but it's like, how'd you get there so quick?
Exactly. It's just, I don't know. There's just something about it that just, I buy into. It's not worst episode ever. I'm not that guy on this. There's too much funny stuff in this episode for that to be the case. But there's just enough that bothers me. And I realize a lot of this is in hindsight, right? Because it bothers me knowing where they go for a long time. And that said, we've talked about this. They're still bangers, all-time classics for another 4 to 5 years. I think it hits... I've done this look. For me personally, I don't remember if you've done this or if we've talked about it. I went through episode guides and thought, what's the first time a season hits where I think I don't consider an episode a classic? And to me, the first time that happened was season 13.
Okay.
So to me, there's still another 4 to 5 years of classic era, not as perfect, but classic era Simpsons with just banger after banger still showing up. It takes a while yet for the full, but to me, this is the genesis of when that begins to happen.
All right.
But I know I've went hard. Do you have any other counterpoints to tell me I'm wrong?
I solemnly agree with you,
okay,
I guess.
All right. Wow. How about that? I win. And this is the final episode of the Way to These Guys Friends podcast because I win. And once I've won, I don't...
Noted poor music trivia performer Randy has been my co-host. And
I now that I have won, I don't want to play anymore. So thank you very much.
Taking my ball and going home.
Fantastic. So we're looking at a couple of notes that I have here, and I don't have a ton because we've talked about a lot of this, but I will say watching that first act, I wrote, I was transported back, that I've always held on to this feeling. I remember watching this either in reruns when it was syndicated reruns pre-streaming or even the first time. I love the first act. It's fun. It's pure and true Simpsons. It's hitting all the right beats. Funny with lived in universe. And then it does feel a little bit like they blow it all to hell in 5 minutes and 24 seconds when Skinner shows up. So, that said, I do love in that act the joke of original Skinner not knowing who Ned Flanders is because should he? Like Rod and Todd are students there. And also in the next scene, when they get to the auditorium, Flanders is in the front row with his kids while Skinner is talking. And I know they're probably not addressing it in that regard. I did like the natural touch of how often would they have interacted? Would he know who they are? Does he maybe know the kids and not know? I don't know.
Ned and Maude have to be on the PTA. Like, right. I mean, that has to happen. Like,
I like the concept of, oh, yeah, it's okay if somebody doesn't know someone. But then I thought about it. It's like, he's a principal and his kids go to, and like, oh, that's a little, but. And then regarding old man Skinner, or old man, replacement Skinner, there is one joke I really loved. Edna, somebody's just yelling at him, and he just goes, "Are you asking me out?" And it's because he doesn't know how women work, and I enjoyed that bit.
I liked he's talking about, I've been living your dream or whatever. And I said, I didn't have any dream about a blue suit and a lavender shirt or something like that. I thought that was a good line.
That's the thing is there's funny. This is a funny episode. There's funny stuff.
Yeah.
It's just colored by time as to what it meant and what it would mean and what it would. And it's hard to not look at it with hindsight, but it's a hard episode to watch in a vacuum, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah.
But if we're going to look at first thing before we look at trivia, We have often looked at the episode rankings on IMDb. I thought, based on the internet that this would have one of those low, bad, under 7 rankings. People don't hate this. The premiere, which I consider an all-timer, City of New York for Homer Simpson, has a lower ranking of 7.5 out of 10. This episode's getting an 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb viewer ratings. So, you know, the diehard fan base maybe has its say, but maybe regular people are like, whatever, we don't care. So there you go.
Yeah.
But we're going to dial into a little bit of trivia as I bring up my paperwork here. There's not a lot of trivia about this episode. There are other episodes that are classics that is just page after page of references and this and that. This doesn't have a ton. But it will say that many fans consider this to be non-canon from the rest of the series. And I don't remember this episode, but this apparently becomes officially non-canon in 2 further episodes down the line, which is messed up because I know a couple seasons later, they reference something and Lisa goes to Skinner. What do you mean, Principal Tamzarian? Which I remember that. But there's an episode.
She didn't get tortured either. No.
In the episode Boy Meets Curl in season 21, they have a flashback of Agnes being pregnant with Seymour, specifically this Seymour, based on jokes. So how do you handle that? How do you deal with that? And at a certain point, you just have to accept that nothing is canon and they can do whatever they want, especially considering the shifting timeline of the series. And do you put the series in eras, right? This was the canon when The Simpsons grew up, when Homer and Marge grew up in the 80s and in the 80s. Is this now the canon when Homer and Marge grew up in the 90s? And what becomes the canon when Homer and Marge grew up in the 2000s? Or at a certain point, you just have to accept they're not doing anything and they're all jokes, which I think upsets me more because I loved those episodes where Homer and Marge grew up in a certain era because they resonated so emotionally. And to say that those don't matter bothers me because of how touching they were and how much they cared and how much I cared about them. That bothers me that those episodes don't exist or matter, or those beats are being hit in another era. And what can I say? Am I one of those Simpsons fans that is bothered by this? Yes. And I don't want it to be because I don't think it's funny or I'm upset by it. It's because those other episodes matter to me so emotionally that to say those don't matter upsets me emotionally. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
What can I say? Here you go. I'm a sad, sad old man with my Simpsons. Thoughts? Am I just being a sad old man and I need to accept they're just jokes?
It maybe.
Yeah. You can say yes. It's okay. It's okay.
It's a bit of a different investment. As I was going back through my notes real quick, we talked about how Skinner wouldn't know Flanders. We're glossing over that in season 5, Flanders became the principal. So they definitely would know who each other is like.
And also, you're right. And he talks about, he's like, how's Ned Flanders doing as principal? And Bart and him have a whole conversation.
Right.
That's right. I forgot about that. By the way, I would like to note, however, that in a 2001 interview, Harry Shearer, the voice of Principal Skinner, recalled that after
he hated it, right?
Yeah, after reading the script, he told the writers, "That's so wrong. You're taking something an audience has built 8 or 9 years of investment in, and you just tossed it in the trash for no good reason for a story we've done before with other characters. It is arbitrary and gratuitous. It is disrespectful to the audience." In a later interview, Shearer added, "Now the writers refuse to talk about it. They realize it was a mistake. They never mention it. It's like they're punishing the audience for having paid attention." Thank you, Harry Shearer. I should have just read his quote before I talked about anything, because what he said, correct. Matt Groening admits it is one of his least favorite episodes, calling it a mistake. This was the last episode written by Ken Keeler, who also pitched the idea. And listen, I can't shit on Ken Keeler because he wrote a lot of good Critic and Futurama episodes that I love. So what can I say? He wrote a lot of other TV that I love, so I can't say, good, ride that man out of town on the rails like fake Skinner. But it's nice to see that maybe some of the creative people in higher positions recognize the issues with it while other people are flippant about it. But, you don't care, so why should I care? Right, Randy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're seeing on board,
Bastard. Any other trivia here that's worth mentioning?
I think, too, in the commentary, I think Keeler does kind of defend it, too. He almost is, like, annoyed that people don't think that it's a little tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, he definitely. He takes your stance of this is a TV show and these are jokes, while I maintain the stance, yes, it's a TV show and these are jokes, but you've been on for 9 years and I have an emotional investment in you and you're breaking my emotional investment. And you can say, well, that's sad. And I go, well, what else do I have, Randy? What else do I have? What else do I have?
I don't want to say that.
No, say it. Say it to my face because we have video. Tell me right now, say, I get now that you have nothing else in your life but this. Say the words. Say the words.
You have fans in Belgium, Mike.
Fan singular.
Fan.
And also, what if they're a fan of you? What if they're like, God, I hate every time this fight gets on?
Well, you can ride my coattails as usual, so
I'm in. I love that. And I suppose that wraps it up with our usual social media plugs for my social media accounts. You can find, if you want to engage with the show, Mike Barcode, MIK. Oh, no! No plugs yet. We took last week off. We have a review to read. We have a user review. Yes. You sent it to me, but it was 2 weeks.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's been 2 weeks since we've done an episode. And in that time, we got a nice new 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Because remember, please leave us your 5-star reviews, your positive reviews. Enjoy the show. Ask us questions. Talk with us. Don't leave the negative ones. That hurts our algorithm and our feelings. Both of those things are equally important. The algorithm and our feelings are on par. Please, if you don't like the show, just back off. Stop listening and go away. It's fine. But if you like the show,
one is much more fragile than the other. We'll let you guess which one.
Weirdly, the algorithm, it'll tank us.
Bizarrely.
It's fine. So, but we've got a new from J.S. Towns, funniest pop culture podcast, 5 stars. This podcast is one of the funniest I've ever heard. The deep dives into media and pop culture references are great. I really enjoy when they take random detours. Boy, are you going to like this episode. That end up in very funny places. If you're looking for a good laugh, I definitely recommend this podcast. Mike and Randy are great, with an exclamation point, no less.
Wow.
So
high praise. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. But same deal. If you want to engage with the show, be it praise or questions or comments, we will take
criticism
feedback.
Welcome too.
Yeah, we will take feedback. If you disagree with us, you can tell us and we will talk about it. In fact, it could be a fun topic to tell you why you're wrong. Or maybe you bring up a point so amazing and enlightening, or like this random viewer again, because I can't get away from that. This random listener said something that we need to talk about that's just mind-blowing. But you can reach out to the show either through, comments on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. You can find me on TikTok or Instagram at Mike Barcode. That's MikeBarcode. You can email mikebarcode@gmail.com with questions or comments. We love to engage with people. We love getting feedback. We appreciate anyone who listens and takes the time. Seriously, just thank you. It's hilarious that regardless of if you're in Belgium or not, anyone listens to us anywhere, and we appreciate any growth we can get. You guys are awesome, and thank you for taking the time. And with that, I will say goodbye and thank you, and see you next week.
Indeed. Goodbye, everybody. We're going to work on our Belgish so we can say farewell in Belgian next week.
What is, hang on. What is the national language of Belgium? Belgish. Yeah, no, we got it. I Googled it.
It's not Belgish. You're lying. It's definitely Flemish or something like that, yeah.
French, German, and Dutch. So
French, German, and Dutch.
So anyway, thanks everybody.
Auf Wiedersehen, au revoir. Yeah.
Can you learn to say goodbye, everybody, in French for next week?
I mean, au revoir, right?
No, that's goodbye. No, I want specifically goodbye, everybody, and how we're going to say
yes. I will work on it.
All right, learn in Belgish. Bye, everybody.
Belgish.